Dead Island. Zombies, crafting, looting, shooting, slashing, crashing, driving, surviving, quests, missions, and high ambitions, all of these wrapped into one game created by Polish developer Techland. Released in 2011 to somewhat positive reception, it was generally considered to be a fun game and worth playing at the time. Not a technical marvel or even the most creative game out there, but it was, for all intents and purposes, a game worth playing. But to 14-year-old me, over June holidays in 2012, it was my life. I did a couple of playthroughs with my friends at the time. I played every character, I did my own solo runs, and I enjoyed it. However, now is not back then, so I played it again to see if it stood the test of time. In some aspects, yes, it's a very enjoyable game to play, but in others, not so much. I'm going to split this review up into three main sections: the gameplay, how the game runs, and the writing itself. So I hope you're ready to take a look back at one of the 7th generation's most interesting offerings. Let's get into the gameplay. It's good, like really good. There are 4 main characters who each have their own unique rage ability built up to use by being in combat. You unlock these abilities by upgrading your character in the 3 skill trees: Fury, Combat, and Survival respectively. Fury levels up your ability to gain rage, how much damage you do while raging, how long you can rage for, your speed during rage, etc. Combat makes you better at combat both in general and to respect of your character's weapon type, meaning that if you do spec into this tree, which you absolutely should, you will find that anything but the weapon your characters are good with feel feeble in comparison. Survival is a utility tree and gives you good general abilities, which include your ability to lockpick chests, increase the amount of inventory slots you have, how much medkits heal you for, amongst others. The 4 rage abilities correspond with weapon types, with each character specializing in a certain weapon type. This means that you can use whatever weapon you would like, however, you will always be more effective with the weapons that your character is good with. Sam B is good with blunt weapons, Perna is good with guns, Jian is good with blades, and Logan is good at throwing shit. To get weapons, you need to loot them, and there's a lot to loot. The game uses a Diablo-style loot system in which everything is randomized, sorted by rarity, and these take up inventory slots. White items are common, green are uncommon, blue is rare, purple is unique, and gold is exceptional. You will always get white weapons when starting out, but as the game progresses, your need for them slowly dwindles. Once you start getting to level 20 plus, there's really no need to use anything beyond green, and if you're doing well, your main weapon will probably be blue, purple, or gold. Receiving weapons from zombies is uncommon unless they're already wielding them, so what you'll be getting most of the time will be crafting components and money. These are essential if you want to have any success for 2 reasons: repairing and crafting. Weapons have durability, and as such, you will need to repair them. They never break completely, but they will do so little damage, you're probably better off punching or kicking your enemies to death instead. Repairing takes money though, and the higher the rarity of the weapon, the more it will cost. Because of this, getting a large amount of cash is essential to having a good time. Crafting, on the other hand, requires materials that cost nothing to carry. These are used to craft weapons that you have the blueprints for. Blueprints are gained by finding them in set locations around the map or from quests that give them to you. These give your weapons multiple damage types, with the main ones being shock, fire, bleed, and poison, as well as crit chance. These go up to a factor of 4 times, which are found in late game blueprints. Criticals with elemental weapons will stun the enemies for a duration, except for bleed, which just applies a damage over time effect. Your effectiveness with these elemental types can also be upgraded in your character's combat skill tree. For example, Jian, the character I played for this playthrough, gets increased duration of poison, with another ability giving increased poison and bleeding damage. I'd also recommend poison in general, since it's the only crit in the game that can't actually harm the player as well. You mentioned quests, so how does this game handle them? I will get into the main quest later, but as for side quests, don't go into it expecting some sprawling, do-it-your-own-way, intricate narrative choices a la Fallout New Vegas. They're entirely functional and serve as something for you to go there and do. They have some character moments, but side quests for the most part are just a vessel to get guaranteed good loot for your level, as every drop you get from them scales. If you are level 40 when you finish a quest, you will get a level 40 weapon from it. This applies to co-op as well and is entirely client-side, which means that if your level 27 friend finishes a quest and you're level 28, they won't get a level 28 weapon because of it. Now that's all out of the way, how does the game actually feel to play? The controls are tight and the weapons have a very good weight to them. Good first-person melee combat is an incredibly tricky balance to achieve, and I personally feel this game is right in the sweet spot. Your weapons respond how you would want them to respond, and there is very rarely a moment where you don't feel completely in control of your character. The worst part of the gameplay is undeniably guns. They feel stiff to use, with milsim levels of recoil on automatic rifles. Your characters have a complete inability to carry more than 90 rounds for basically any gun, and what makes this worse is the only character that can carry more ammunition is Perna, the gun specialist. With her, you're only able to carry 10 extra rounds, which is unlocked at the tail end of the utility tree, requiring you to sink at least 14 skill points into it. The one saving grace is that they were clearly designed for use against humans, as they are a one-hit kill headshot for most survivors you encounter, but absolutely awful against any form of infected. This of course applies the other way around, with bladed and blunt weapons being completely ineffective against humans. The other issue with guns is that you don't ever really get them until Act 2, meaning that Perna can sometimes feel like she's left behind compared to the other survivors who do all get the weapons that they are effective with fairly early into the game. Aside from this, and a little bit of stiff and clunky driving, the game is otherwise incredibly fun to play, and what I just talked about doesn't really detract from the experience all that much. So, the gameplay? It's good. It's really good. Now, the technical aspects of the game. It's alright. I played the original released in 2011 and the performance of the game is really good. I was playing on a GTX 1650 Super with an AMD Ryzen 5 2600 and I got a solid 60 FPS the entire time with some slight hitches. It doesn't crash when you alt-tab, and it still looks pretty good considering how old it is. The character models do not look amazing, and some of the animations and cutscenes and effects are janky as hell, but I'm not exactly expecting a Naughty Dog level of polish from a relatively small Polish studio, especially not in 2011. These aspects are the least important, and I'd say you're a fool for going into this expecting something like that. As for the game's writing, it's hard to describe. You play as a group of survivors who are immune to the zombie virus, and you must seek out a mysterious voice on the radio because they're the only way for you to escape the island. You meet a colourful array of side characters across the game who give you a bunch of things to do. The actual dialogue between these characters is what makes this the most interesting though.
It's just like Norman's.
Logan is a loudmouth ex-pro footballer who has all of the negative connotations associated. Jian is a do-gooder, full of empathy mother figure for the group. Perna is a hard-ass ex-cop who has a soft side to her, and Sam B is basically what happens when you listen to southern hip-hop and wrap all of the cliches into one, even down to having a popular single that plays both in the intro of the game and the end credits. These characters have absolutely no business working together as well as they do, but they somehow manage, and some of the cutscenes that play throughout is some of the funniest shit I have seen in a video game since Deadly Premonition.
Hey, show it. You have some zombie for lunch?
There's a certain B-movie quality to it, from the weird racial stereotypes to the somewhat PC takes on the issues between Indigenous Australians and police brutality, the blatant sexualization of both men and women and the crassness towards it, the condemnation of rapists, as well as blaming a woman for being raped, and the complete tonal whiplash that occurs throughout. I'm not saying this completely ruins the game, or that it should be cancelled, or any other sensationalist takes someone could draw from that statement. It's a product of its time, and I think it's good to look at older games like this to really see how far we've progressed in terms of writing.
Get the fuck off my board!
Overall, it's not the most well-written game. There are no gratifying character arcs, no smart writing choices, nothing that makes you really question anything. It's just a dumb fun game, and it treats itself as such, which I think is admirable. This isn't Mass Effect with introspective character moments and rich world building. This isn't Fallout New Vegas with political intrigue, nuance, and complex character studies. It's Dead Island, a dumb, fun zombie game that demands you treat it as such. In conclusion, Dead Island is a game you should play if you enjoy RPG mechanics, tight melee combat, B-movie tier, questionable writing decisions, wonky Australian and Pacific accents, and a 20 to 30 hour experience to see all that this game has to offer. It's even better in co-op, and if you can snack it for cheap during a Steam sale for yourself and up to 3 other friends, you should have a fantastic time. I give this game a Where the Wild Roses Grow by Nick Cave and Kylie Minogue. Thanks for watching. The next game that I'll be reviewing is another 7th gen classic, the first Bioshock. It should follow a similar format to this, and if you would like to see the cut down streams from me playing this game, I'll have a link in the description to the playlist of those videos. If you like this video, make sure you subscribe, hit the like, comment, you know the deal. See you all next time.
The king of the